Basil Marceau is he ran.
Okay, yeah.
Basil Marceau ran for governor of Tennessee. Basil Marceau is a seemingly mentally retarded man who you got to pull up something. Do you have internet on this computer here?
We can do it.
There's like
We'll find a little clip for you.
All right, let's go to the clip and see what he's talking about, and we'll come back and we'll react to it.
All right, well, all this week, Channel 4 is working for you to help you make a choice in the governor's primary race.
As part of that commitment, we have given all 5 candidates from the 2 major parties time during our news to let you know where they stand, in their own words, about the topics of their choosing.
That's right, and the order was chosen by random drawing tonight. We hear from Basil Marceau.
I'm BasilMarceau.com, the Republican candidate for governor. I'd like to recall all permits and registration for guns. Everyone can carry guns. If you kill someone, no, you get murdered. I mean, you go to jail. And I like to plant grass or vegetation across the state with any vacant lot and sell it for gas so we can use it for our expenses. Also, I'm going to remove all gold fringe flags from the state and apply the real flag with 3 stripes. I also want to stop traffic stops. Set it up like the Supreme Court ruled in Knowles versus Iowa. You can't find evidence in a car, you can't look. I want you all to vote for Basil Marceau. I want you to say the Pledge of Allegiance to a Republic in the morning when you come out. And we all pray to God and say amen. And everyone have a nice day. And I see you all at the polls. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Do we have to listen to it?
Wow, so that's...
yeah, that's Basil Marceau, and
I'm speechless.
yeah, I mean it's
I'd vote for him. I mean, they're not really counting votes anyway. I mean,
well, it's Tennessee, but
Yeah.
they don't know how to count in Tennessee, but it's. I mean,
do they have any major cities?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're so
Yeah, you know,
uninformed.
there's
We gotta- Tallahassee?
that's in
Florida. That's not in Tennessee.
There's Tennessee City. Everybody loves it there.
I will think of it.
Nashville. How about
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Good job,
of
Britt.
course.
Way
Of
to come
course,
back
yeah.
after
Nashville-
Like the Vegas
Florida
of-
comment.
The Vegas
Tennessee.
of the Grand Ole Opry. The Grand Ole Opry is basically the equivalent of that.
Elvis was
What
from
does
there, wasn't
Nevada
he?
do besides Vegas? Do they have anything there?
What?
Reno.
Yeah, Reno, the biggest little city.
Right. All right. Well, let's think of another useless state that has only one thing in it. Ooh, I just said Tennessee. No, I don't know anything about Tennessee. I'm obviously
Utah?
uninformed about what goes on there. We're gonna get some callers from
I got a
Tennessee
good
next
one.
time, and they're gonna be like, "I heard you talking about my shit."
No, listen, no, okay, all right, I got a good one. Utah is a useless state with one useless thing in it: Mormons.
Now we're gonna get some Mormons calling up on the show, being like,
Mormons,
"You talking about my
Mormons
shit?"
do not listen to this show.
Mormons are preferred recruits of the CIA because of their upright. A lot of their upright, not only their upright upbringing. Yeah, I just said upright upbringing, but their ability to be corrupted, because the CIA love people who are white bread and look a certain way, yet in reality would bang small children and do other horrible things. And apparently Mormons are great for that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the CIA also likes to do things like put people who are famous in the CIA.
Underground
because-
tunnels.
Well,
Like Chuck Barris from the Gong Show, right? He was a CIA
That's awesome.
operative, right? That's that movie, Dangerous Minds, with Sam Rockwell. George Clooney, I believe, directed it.
huh.
Yeah, but he was the host of the Gong Show in like the 60s, and he was also apparently a CIA operative and assassin, and he killed people. What
Wild.
if, going with the Mormon trend, what if Donny Osmond kills people for a
I can
living?
see it.
I mean, think of that smile.
He kills their
haunting your
souls on TV.
dreams. Haunting your dreams as he kills you with a knife in the face.
Getting killed in the face.
By Donny Osmond, seemingly the nicest man in the world. Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Osmond.
What do you think about Clinton?
Love him.
What about George W?
Hate him.
John Kerry?
Who? I voted for him. That was a waste. I mean, you know, I guess you have to assume that, like, because no president ever lost when we were in a war before, why the hell would George W. lose now?
Oh, we found.
I mean, George W. won when he lost. Why would he lose when he won? I mean, Christ, it doesn't make any sense. He did legitimately win against John Kerry. I mean, there's no real hacking that one out, but
although interestingly enough, the race was closer than it was for Gore in certain instances, and for some reason, Kerry, being a fellow Skull and Bonesman, didn't challenge, didn't ask for a recount.
well, see, the thing about Kerry is
He's
that
pussy.
nobody. Yeah, well, yeah. Nobody really had that much faith in Kerry anyway. Do you know why people voted for John Kerry? He wasn't George W. Bush.
Right.
That's why people voted for John Kerry. He was a washout, nothing candidate. He only was a politician because his wife had money. That's
Sure.
the only reason, because he had the money to back a campaign. That's why he had money. Because what state did John Kerry come from? I'm not.
I believe it's Massachusetts.
Colorado.
I don't think it's Colorado.
I don't think
This
it's
is the man who
Colorado
thought
either.
that Tallahassee
But I also
wasn't.
don't think it's Massachusetts. But I mean, I don't want to insult another state, but you know, like, I guess whatever state he was originally from that elected him into whatever political, elected him to the Senate. I guess they just really buy into subliminal advertising because Kerry could afford to play more commercials on television. But he couldn't afford to pay more than Bush, so.
I mean, I think you're right in terms of him being like a dud from the get-go, and I kind of think the Democrats knew they weren't going to take power in
Yeah, but
04,
you know
so they
what?
just put this square up because they knew
That doesn't.
it would make Bush's fake victory seem more believable if they put up such an awful candidate.
Would you think that they put up just to kind of throw him to the wolves and know that he would never
like,
come
I think
up?
they
I
knew
guess
that.
anybody that they see, you know what though? That's a poor mindset because the Democrats. All right, I remember when I was a little kid, I used to watch SNL reruns all the time, and in a personal opinion of mine, and somebody was actually when I said this, somebody told me about I don't remember, possibly Greek philosopher that said something similar. I believe that parody is the greatest form of truth because parody, while exaggerating, it still is unbiased because it is making fun of it. It's unbiased, and I feel like parody is really like a good way to look back at history.
I think parody functions well for people who are already informed. Unfortunately, I
guess
think like our
better,
culture,
but
like it's becoming more and more like a means for education for people, which is really pathetic and bad.
I suppose, yes, but I still think it brings an interesting light.
Sure.
But there was this sketch on SNL, and it was based on the Democratic primary from 1991, I guess it was.
Okay.
92 was when
92
Clinton,
was Clinton.
Yeah, so it was the 91 Democratic primary. And, the big joke was like, they have Don Pardo doing like, now it's time for the Democratic primary, or who gets to be the guy to lose to George Bush, which was hilarious because Clinton was one of the people in it. It was Phil Hartman playing Clinton, as he went on to do later in the show and made it quite famous. And Darrell Hammond still occasionally, I think, does that Bill Clinton impression on SNL. So at that point in time, people were already like, oh, whoever the Democrats are going to put up isn't going to beat Bush. Bush is carrying still on the coattails of the Reagan regime.
Sure.
The Reagan regime was so fucking massive, and Clinton did it. So I think that it was foolish of them to do that. I think it was foolish of them to put up a lame duck candidate. I feel like
Certainly.
even if they did wind up throwing whoever they threw up to the wolves, Christ, I mean, look at what happened to Howard Dean anyway. They could have at least thrown him in. He was at least an interesting candidate. Just like I think the Republicans might have had a chance if they had put in fucking Ron Paul.
Well, they won't do that either. I mean, again,
no, I
you
mean,
see,
Christ,
like,
I don't even think Ron Paul's a Republican anymore.
just like Obama just declaring our debt null and void would be what he would do if he was really on our side.
Well, I mean, this is the same Obama.
Nominating Ron Paul is what the Republicans would do if they were for real.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but Obama, Obama, it would just be him saying it. Like, I know, like when Obama just but like 5 days ago said that the combat mission in Iraq is over.
Yeah, which is just disgraceful.
But it quote unquote is just because he says it is, just because he's the president. He made the executive order saying it's over. But how many troops did they bring back what does that mean? Nothing. They're doing the same things. The same people are still there. He's just basically saying that to boost his approval rating, to be like, yeah, that's over with.
Sure. And it's also to get people ready for ramping up in what's going on in Afghanistan, which has been escalating. So it's all playing the media like a chess game. Like, people will focus less on Iraq, so they won't mind so much that within the last month, like over 21 soldiers have died. That's just within the past week or two. Like, it's getting bad. It's horrible.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. I think it's funny that once education started to become like globally institutionalized, and they started to, people, once it became like a shift from like the majority of the population couldn't read, and the corrupt people were allowed to work completely freely, to the majority of the people could read, like almost at the same time was the advent of television, of things that dumb people down. Like it's within like a couple years. Like, I mean, because, TV was around significantly before it became widespread. I mean, TV was around
before
in like
everybody would have one.
Television was invented it was invented before World War II, and then they stopped making them
and
during
they had
the
like
war.
projection screens and like all that. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously,
wasn't until like the late 40s.
But I mean, I don't mean just movies. I mean, well, actually, you want to look at that. I guess like movies with sound actually came out closer to around the time that school had become institutionalized. Like, because that really happened in around like 1910s, 1920s.
Right.
And that was about the time that the talkie pictures got big, that there were more and more distractions for the masses.